Yowza.
Good.
You can hear me?
Yes, you're live now, and your music has just stopped. So,
How you doing, Sard? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. Yes, had a good show.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. You feel kind of relax there. It's like you're not rushing to head out right now. So
Well,
do I take it?
I am going to go, but I am relaxed as well. Yes.
I'm feeling that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna,
All right. And your voice energy.
yes.
Yeah, man. So gonna be doing another show, Cosmic Roots, Reality of Our True Selves, Cosmic Reality of Our True Selves. Just say something before to you before you do go start. I think I heard a little bit of the show again. Your show was about intellect, I think.
Intellect, friend or foe?
Intellect, friend or foe.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. Um, I'm going to be going into some things. I would say how I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But do you have anything you want to ask on that before if you want to?
Ask. Okay. Well, I can say what to ask. Intellect really.
Or
You
say
know,
on it, actually.
yeah.
If
What I
it's
want to say on it, basically, we obviously overuse our intellect in our daily life, and it's basically stresses us out, and it just, if we could only, just like you say, if you really realize our true self, which is, so the intellect is just a tool, like we've said in on the show already before, that this is a tool, and then, but rather we may let it be the ruler, and so guess what, we hit our head against the wall, and literally, and getting all these stresses and whatever that we are going through, and if we let the spirit, the real true self, be the driver, and then we can be just calm and cool about every situation. Even if you're suffering, whatever it is, just, in fact, by just being calm, it already gives you an opening to deal with the situation rather than getting stressed, where you're panicking and not even able to know what to go do next. So, I mean, and the real deeper part of it is, intellect is just material, and it can't solve anything that is not non-material. And until we allow the real self, the true self, to become alive, and I would even use the word radiate, because that's what it is in the end. The spirit has to radiate, and really show itself, and then everything else will succumb to the spirit, and that's what's going to guide things. That was a big point, actually. We were saying that you need to be guided, and it's the spirit that is going to guide you, not the intellect. Intellect's just the tool. You press one, you get one, or you turn left, you get left. But who's going to tell it to turn left? It's the spirit. So something has to tell it to do that. So I think it's just exactly what your show says, coming to the true realization of yourself, the true self, rather than being, how can I say, stuck. It's like, the simple example is, there's a car, which is it has no life of itself, but there's a driver. The driver is the one in charge of that car. And until we recognize who is actually the driver, the one sitting in the car, and not the car itself. So the sooner we can wake up to that, let's say the life will become happier. I think that's the simplest way. I'm only putting it in a short, simple way, really.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel what you're saying. And I'll be going into my show this evening, and will, I suppose, touch on that from a different angle. Because, like, when I listen to you, there is always this who is getting beating their head up on the wall because intellect. Yeah, it's like who is that we're identifying with, that is suffering. You see.
Yes.
And I would go into my show, and I should be getting a caller coming in through as well to go into some of the deeper things. But the problem comes from the person we believe we are, because you obviously you was identifying with the spirit, pure spirit, pure consciousness is what we is. That's the true I connotation when we say I.
Yes.
That's the the true self. That's the pure awareness. But the person, a lot of the problem is that many people don't want to let go of this person, you see, and this is where the intellect, the person whom thinks they are the person, the intellect of the person, and how the person uses their intellect or not use their intellect, you see, it's about this force identification with being a person. And person means actually mask when you look into its word, person, a mask. And it's also personification within there, where you're dealing with light energy frequency personifying through sound into form. So you can say that the person is the form, and consciousness has, through habituation, forcefully identified with person. And this is why there's a misidentification with the true self. And this is the reason why in this time, you can say we're dealing with a wave, what they call it cosmic or stellar activation cycle. So we're dealing with awakening of consciousness to itself, out of this dream of being this person, and then giving all this energy to this person and not realizing whom's and where the source of the energy the person's getting its energy from. You see what I mean? So is this misidentification that in this time, the wave of awakening, cosmic waves, is really to come to realize that you are awareness realizing itself. You are awareness realizing itself. It's like the awakening comes where you're coming into more true self recognition.
Yes.
You're becoming again, cognitized. You're becoming aware of awareness, yourself as awareness itself. And this is the real awakening in order for freedom. Because we got Aquarian, or the Aquarius age, and we're dealing with this psychic energy, cosmic energy, stellar activation, archetype, cosmic mind, cosmic intelligence, higher etheric information. You know, this empowerment, empowerment of the individual waking up to their essential self in order to be free and liberated from the illusion of the person. You see, personhood. To come out of personhood to enter, so to speak, into selfhood. But that gives the impression that we're not in selfhood already. The reality is that the true self, the selfhood, that is whom the higher self, that's whom and what we is. But it's this holding on to this illusion of being a person that is where the source of all the problems the person begins to believe and identify with and say that they are. I'll go into this deeper as I, dive deeper into the cosmic ocean of the show.
Sure.
But that's how what I'm feeling coming through to say in relation to the discussion you had about intellect and intellect being a tool. It is a tool. It is an instrument. But the problem is, and the solution, the problem is force identification, and the solution is waking up to the true self. There's a difference between the personhood or the person and the self. The self is not the person. But the person is like a thought, an idea that exists within the beingness, but it's not the being.
Right.
Because self is the pure creative energy source. intelligence that we've been conditioned as persons to believe is something separate and outside of ourselves. Yet it's omnipresent, which would mean that if it's not present also within I, you, then it's not present or omnipresent. That's what I mean. For something to be all present, it has to be also throughout the boundless space and throughout every form, in every form, and throughout all forms, and filling all space, and transcending space. For that, what is pertained to be the Supreme Being, to be omnipresent. So denying the very, or not accepting or just contemplating the reality, the magnitude of that reality in order to know oneself, to realize therefore you are one with the ultimate source, but it's the force identification with the form and the person that has created this illusion of separation. So now you got me and other. You see what I mean? Because many people, when we talk, I'm going through this. Yeah, man, we got a story, and we identify with the story, and that becomes our personal history. And that history now becomes the person's history. You see what I mean? And then now the person become identified with the story, and now we become identified with the person, and you don't want to, you don't want to let go of the person. Yet the person goes through all these changes. You're not the same person you used to be when, you know what I'm saying, you were 23. Now you're a different person to who you is now, to who you were then, and that cannot be who you are. All these personas. These are like changing clothes, changing parts, playing different roles. You see what I mean? But they're not the authentic self. So this is how it goes. But anyway, Sard, I'm going to let you move on. And I'm going to start the show here. So, you cool, Sard? Or you got the mic off? All right. If you're gone, you're gone. You take care. Yes. So, good evening, Cosmic Soul brothers and sisters. You're on another show, Cosmic Root Show, which is the cosmic reality of one's true self. And yeah, I'm going to start the show. And oh yeah, just to say again, for those of you who want to tap into it live, you can tune in to it via YouTube. Just type in Bless Radio 1 live and you should pick it up. Or TuneIn app, the TuneIn app for the radio. Tap in Bless Radio. Or you can tune in to Bless Radio 1, that is, with the numerical number 1 after Bless Radio written all in one word. Or you can tap in it through the internet, which is blessradio.co.uk. Blessradio.co.uk. Now, Brother Siayome here, aka Cosmic El Mystic, and another Cosmic Roots show for you this evening. Cosmic Roots, reality of one's true self. But I'm going to play a tune for you, y'all, for a sec. So, yeah, listen up.
So she didn't have a daughter, she didn't have a son. She said, no, doesn't cry when the skills don't come. And if we don't come, we cannot run. No, that's not. So I grab a bunch of fools and that's not to run. Here I come, here I go. 2 months later, she said, come and get this son. Cause I don't want your baby to come tie me down because you are old. And I am young. Yes, while I'm young, yes, I wanna have some fun. Run me down. Should live a little. I'm broader than Broadway. Yes, I'm broader than Broadway. When you go to Volcano, it's like a stage. You have man that's in detail and pull it down doesn't climb, run up the stairs and come. And if you don't come quick, you're not gonna see your son. So I grab a bunch of fruit and I start it to run. Here I am, oh. 2 months later, she said, come and get yourself. But I don't want your baby to come. Tie me down because you are old. And I am young. Yes, while I'm young, yes, I wanna have some fun. Run me down. Exercise, 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 then flies away. Extra broad, extra broad, extra broad, then broad away. And the intercom was the time to count. But she didn't have a job, but she did have a son. Here I am. Swing, 'cause I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Yes, I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Over the ocean and over the sea, all of the girls them are away. Run up the stairs and come. 'Cause if you don't come, we're not gonna see your son. So I grab a bunch of roses and I start to run. Here I am, I am. 2 months later, she said, come get your son. 'Cause I don't want your baby to come tie me down across you are old. And I am young, yes, running and young. Yes, I wanna have some fun, run me down. But I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Over the ocean and over the sea, all of the girls them are both away.
Yeah, here I come again. Yes. So, back again with another Cosmic Root show. And y'all, yeah, all right. So, I should be having along with me a little later on my brother Galactic Clyde, y'all. Gonna be talking on, this cosmic, look, man, we're in the stellar activation cycle. I mentioned that earlier. And the thing is, there's a lot of changes going on. All right? Man, I mean, that's what's going on. Now, the deeper realities behind these changes helps being astrological, cosmological language being used to help convey the workings of these cosmic waves emerging out of this cosmic ocean of consciousness that we all essentially are all within. Okay? We all essentially get this sound going on sometimes when I'm doing this, and cuts in and out. If anybody's tuning in, just let me know if you can hear me, and if it cuts out and not, you know what I'm saying, like it did last Tuesday. Give thanks for all of that. So, Lord, all these sounds, what's going on in there, brothers? All right, it's what I'm hearing on my side, but let me continue. So, the flow is the cosmic waves emerging out of the cosmic ocean that we, as pure consciousness awareness, have within us. In fact, you are pure consciousness, and your mind, your emotions, your body, all the energy, the dynamic functions of being is taking place within consciousness. Now, yeah, I'm going to, you see, the age, the time we're in now, let me kind of bring this more into understanding, like what I was saying earlier about we're in a different cycle. There is order and high intelligence that is governing and, organizing the entirety of creation. In fact, creation is already complete. It's the access to all different multitudes of realities based upon the state of consciousness you align to, okay? But the thing is that all of creation is consciousness made visible, and the true self, the higher self, and its higher self as in to pertain that you're dealing with the consciousness that you are, that is above the personhood, earthly intellect level of awareness. So that's why it's pertaining like the higher self. So it does give this, it gives the impression like there's two of you, higher self, lower self. But this is the illusion that is generated from false identification, being the person. This personhood. The personhood is really this may be a strong word, but it's the toxin. The personhood is basically what you would call that fear-based, program story. The person always wants to be, the person, the story of the person, to be a better person, to be a good person. Oh, you gotta, change the person, the person you used to be. People seeing themselves as persons sees others as persons. And the person has a story, and the person is a bit ill, the person wants to get well, the person is trying to be a better person, as I said, a good person. Or are you a bad person? Oh, are you an honest person? Or maybe you're a dishonest person. Oh, hang on a minute. Are you, what kind of person are you? Huh? All of that person, personality, personhood. It's the mask and the roles that we play as individuals based upon the forced identification of being that person, playing that role, thinking that way. Oh, are you a depressive person? You angry person? What do you do as a person? This is the way communication, this is the way we talk, this is the way, of the earthly, of the illusionary, of the separative thinking, deluded entity. It's not even real, but your identification to it and attachment to it and holding on to it, don't want to lose it. Yeah, you don't want to lose the person you are. You don't want to change the person you is, or this idea of being a person. That is what creates the pain and the suffering, because the person gets hurt. The person feels hurt. Who feels hurt? Who feels, oh, suffering? I feel oppressed. I. Who's the I? Who's the I identifying? Who feels oppressed? You see what I mean? So there's an identity out of oppression. The person feels. The person. You see? And all of this is a minefield of triggers, of reactions to what the person believes is going on. The person believes, the person believes many things, and we believe we were that young child growing up. We believe we were that baby born. We believe we are that same person grown up now. And and still identifying with this person, with this history of birth and childhood, and then, you know, adolescent, teenager, adolescence, and here you is now. And it's that identification. It's that identification with this person, yo. I'm laughing because, you know, this is where all of the issues are coming from, okay? But then you got the true self. You got the self behind the person. And the thing is, the self is there, is you, but it's like the person believes, I gotta do more work to clear and release this and clear and release that. I gotta read more. The person needs more knowledge. The person needs to challenge this and challenge that, you know, to be, hang on a minute, I'm my own person, you know what I mean? Even we own this illusion. We don't want to let go of it. We don't want to say, hey, hang on a second. Am I really this person? I mean, the person is really also filled with conditioning and programming from childhood, and your childhood and the personal self-image that was identified with at that I'm just getting a message in, at that stage, okay, the emotions, the experiences, the environment, you know, this is story, this is okay, you know, this is formulating this idea of this personal self-image, this person you believe yourself to be, and the person has this history, and the person, but you see, when you look at this thing with this person, you look and say, all right, right now, you go back into a memory of when you were a young child. All right, go back to school, high school, or go back earlier, you know what I'm saying, to some earlier memory, okay? Whatever flashes in your mind, you're observing that as a memory, okay? Now, who's observing that? You or the memory of yourself being that person? Hey, yo, what's happening with the, you know, don't mess around, what's happening with the connection here? Yeah. Okay. So as I'm saying here, who's observing this memory? I can hear somebody breathing in the room. Who's observing this memory? Are you the person who's in the memory you're observing, or are you the observer, the witness of this memory? That you are saying, oh yeah, I remember when I was so and so old, when I was 10. I remember when I was at high school, you know, and you're seeing yourself, or you remember when you were 7, and you're looking at this memory of yourself that you're saying, you're identifying with, oh, that was me then. Well, you don't look like that now, right? You are what? Your body is grown, older, so to speak, more matured, and therefore, what I'm saying is, there's an observer of this as a memory of whom you identified yourself with, part of the story that you're holding on to as a part of, oh, this is me. You see, I was a child, you see, and when I was at, you know, such and such, you know, when I remember I was at primary, and you know, when I went to a new school or so forth, and then you got all these stories leading up to you being a teenager to who you are now. None of that is you, because who was observing that was also there at the time when you thought you was that little child. Yeah? who was observing all of those experiences was still the same you that you is now. Okay? And it's not limited to any of the stories that we've identified and created this idea of a person, my personhood. Personality. That's where a lot of things is on. Spirituality is on personality, you know? Oh, I'm trying to become a more spiritual person. Yes, I need to go to some more workshops in order to, learn the things I need to learn to become more spiritual. I need to find myself. I'm a person who's trying to make myself better. I'm a person who's doing a lot of this work on myself in order to become the person I'd want to be. Yeah. You see all of that? That's crazy shit. All of that is your mind believing that you are all this incompleteness. This is why the person would say, nobody's perfect. You hear that term, right? Nobody's perfect. That comes from the person. The person isn't perfect. It never feels complete. That's why it's trying to do all this work on itself. I need to be a better person. Yeah, we're conditioned to identify with this person. What kind of person are you? You know, defend this person, the identity of this person. All of this stuff, man. And this is, if you want to, this is the toxin. This is the cancer. You can even feel personhood energy, vibration, because we're still energy, and you're still putting out, you're still receiving. Yeah, you're still sending and receiving. And this defending of this person and feeling offended, but the thing is that the person isn't you. So how you use your intellect as a person to get back at somebody else who you feel has offended the person that you are. Do you see what's happening? The person you're identifying with, the amount of stories, okay? The amount of stories, the movies, okay? That is all based on you identifying as a person. Even believing a spirit is person, meaning as if to say everything you're dealing with is an object, and that there's not a non-physical reality, okay, or greater dimension of yourself that exists beyond person. What the person is always caught up in, trying to be this person. Now, not everybody, not all of us, identify as a person. If you identify as a person, that's the energy you put out, and the world must treat you as a person, okay? Because you're a person. That's the energy you put out. That's your identity. You're a person, yeah? So the person you have identified to be and the conditioning around this person has, the habitual, what's formulated through her habits, habitualization, has created this force identification. So we defend this person. I'm a person who's got my own mind. When it's like, have you ever checked if anything you believe in that mind of yours is actually real? Is actually true? You know what I mean? Those things. And you got your own mind. So therefore, if you got your own mind, who are you? Because you own a mind. So who's aware of their own mind? Who is it that has the awareness to observe the mind you have, to acknowledge, oh, I have my own mind? Whom is observing the mind then? You see? So you're not even the mind, but hey, you can identify with the mind of the person that you believe you are. And the state of that mind will be the person you play the role out to be or become. Think about this, yeah. You're dealing with personhood, not selfhood. And we mistake the person as the self. Oh, myself, my person. Yeah. We are in the age of soul. I'm going to put it in this way. See, the age of Aquarius. Oh, a stellar activation cycle. Yep. Yeah, we're in a time of where polar shifts can happen. Shifting consciousness. It's time of awakening. Yes, all of that. All right, let me put it this way. We are in the age of soul. The age of soul is knowledge of the non-physicality, knowledge of the existence of non-physicality, where the knowledge and science of the soul is to be taught. And the knowledge and science of the soul to be taught and to be known on this material world, because the person is material. See, the person you believe you are is this physical body, and you know what I'm saying? It has a beginning and end, and you know what I mean? If it dies, it's the end of you. And there's a saying where in the all right, there's a saying that you would hear, you guys would have heard it, where it says I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, but I fear no evil, right? Well, the key word is shadow. The shadow of the valley of death, meaning that it's a shadow. It's not real. Death is an illusion, but it's only real to the person. So the person's psychological and emotional makeup, the identifying with the person that has beginning and end. Oh, this is where this shadow of death, this is what needs to be killed. Sounds crazy, right? Oh my gosh, kill a person? It's the person who believes in the illusion of death. And that's why it said it's the shadow. That's indicating that death is an illusion. There is no beginning or end to you. But in these times, the more you're identifying with yourself as a person, then what's picking up in the collective field of energy and the waves and the amplification of all what these transits are activating and bringing forth, rising up within the energies being activated within your consciousness, to where the outer, the so-called outer environment is like a responder. It responds to your inner. You see what I'm saying? Right? As now what's being projected onto the hologram, outward response, call and response. The call comes from within, the response comes from, you see what I'm saying? As a metaphoric representation. Okay? So the outer world is a response to the inner. And I did a show last year, or kind of maybe, yeah, if it was last year or the year before that, about what you internalize, you externalize. Okay? Well, the person is all about that. It's where you've taken on a lot of things you've experienced, and these have become a part of your story and of who you believe you are and identifying with as a person. A person. Person means mask. Persona. Okay? And we all know that a mask has a presence that's behind it. That is the only real seer, or doing any real seeing through the mask. The mask itself isn't real. You see? So we're in the age of soul. the age of non-physical awareness, to understand your non-physical reality, which is the source behind what is being made visible, this form, this body. Without it, you wouldn't be here. So we're entering the time of soul, the age of soul, the age of Aquarius, which is liberation, liberation of the soul from the illusion. Now you see a lot of force identities and persons going on here, and you got the crazy stuff going on when you're not aligning with the self. When you're busy identifying with a person, now there's this idea of, well, I can be, see, Aquarius, you see, my unique individual self. That's Aquarius. But you see, when you're when the focus is caught upon force identity, person, you get a kind of a perversion of this diversity, this individual uniqueness, in the sense that, for example, this is what person does. The mind that deals with earthly concepts and does not seek to align with natural laws in order to comprehend truth that's universal, rather than distorted ideas that become concepts and then, when acted out on, bring forth very disturbing results. What I mean by that is, you want to teach children, they want to make compulsory, for example, teaching children that all this transgender stuff, okay? You're in a body, you don't feel like you're the body that you're in, so you want to change the body that you actually come in, constructed, in order for it to look more like the body you feel you should be in, okay? And that's you being the right, having the right to be who you are, whatever you want to be. There's different people in the world. There's diversity, of course. But what kind of idea of diversity? Is it natural or distorted? You got a baby dolls now. Baby girl, pull down the pants, it's got a penis. And then you got minds, parents saying, yes, it's a good thing, and here's the reasoning. It's a good thing for our children to know that there are diverse people in the world and everyone is different, and you should not allow others to define you. You decide whom and what you decide to be. That is what you got, right? Now, you see, there's always this paradox, and you always got authentic and counterfeit. You know what I mean? And you want to move away from understanding the diversity and the uniqueness and individuality of souls that have all originated from the absolute infinite, all originating creative source of all life, all existence. All originating, okay, creative spirit of life, okay. You must also, it has its nature, and therefore you are an offspring of that nature, or an individualized expression of that true nature and that true identity of the self, okay, the self, right? Now, when you're talking about coming into a physical form, and you don't feel associated with the structure of society, how it defines people, how it defines people to be. Now, that is something to be aware of, to say, yeah, that is a conditioning, puts labels on and defining. If you come into a female body, then the whole definition imposed from society on how a woman or how you should be as a girl and how you should grow as a woman and what you should like and how you should behave and how you should identify as being a woman, right? You have that differently in different cultures, different societies, okay? Well, they expect women, oh, you're in a female body. Well, you're a woman and you must do this based upon the cultural conditioning, the societal norms, taboos of what not to do and all of that, all right? And that may have nothing to do with who you essentially is within and beyond the vehicle, okay? But people identify with the person, okay? So this identification with the person now in a female form as a woman and just like, and also with man, okay? Yeah, goes the same thing with both gender. But now you become identifying with the conditioning of the person you are told you're supposed to be, okay? People telling you, who defining you, society, culture, traditions, you know what I'm saying? Family, you know what I mean? Got that version of you. And it's based all way, and it's based upon also, yes, your gender, whether you're a boy or a girl, you know what I mean? And how you are interacted with and how you are supposed to interact or how you're supposed to behave. All of these things are shaping this idea we begin to have of ourselves as the person we believe we are. So now, what happens here is that if there's no contact to spirit to actually realize, hang on a minute, you're not this body, you're not this person, you're not the story. So you can step back in yourself from that to realize your essential nature and understand that this form that you're in has a purpose for your essential nature's expression through. Now, that would be more of a healthy alignment to work out the identity crisis issues, you see. But if there's no spiritual foundation in the culture, rooted in universal truth, even the culture I'm talking about, Western culture, scoffs at certain things. You got the mentality, oh, well, there's no truth, and you even got other people take on these certain ideas. You know, everything's just a blind driver at the wheel, you know what I mean? You know, blind driver is at the wheel. And he's driving and, you know, stuff just happens. There's no conscious aware intelligence directing, controlling. And when I say controlling, organizing, you know, on higher levels of an intelligent operation and creative power behind the whole fabric of what we call creation. You got people who want to say, no, man, it's just a blind driver. You see, because they're blind and they are limited in their perception or awareness of the true nature of reality. You see, so you get people who then bring their ideologies, now want to make things compulsory to children at school, which should be something that you should have your own choice in, you know, but no, you want to make something compulsory. So you want to create a distorted thing now where folks who are not looking deeper to understand, to deal with this crisis of false identity, to enter into more, you see, this is what I'm saying, when there's no spiritual foundation, you see, all right? When you just believe everything is physical and what's not, then you want to make God to be, this idea of God to be, oh, you know, look, man, like there's no intelligence, like your body wasn't created in an intelligent manner. You just want to come with haphazard stuff, in the sense of no organization, no harmony, just discordancy and all of that. I mean, even discordancy has its place, but it is not a, discordancy is not able to sustain itself indefinitely. It will break down and go into self-annihilation. So the nature of life is order and balance and harmony, organized and structured, free, open source. You see, but it has its own divine order within itself. You see, so when you're going to turn around and want to put ideas into impressionable children's minds to make them think and believe these man-made concepts, you know, people mutilating their bodies, and then later on, they don't let you know the amount of folks who've regretted it and what they've had to say about what they've, through the consequence, what they've had to learn, what it took them to go deeper into themselves to realize, you know, to realize who they more deeply are beyond the body, and that it was a false identification aspect of which resulted in self-hate, self-loathing. And you find that a Western kind of term. It's people's, you know, self-loathing, you know, self-hate, you know, because of this person they believe themselves to be. And because of the energies inside of this construct that is identifying with these states and then being unconscious of the formless pure awareness that they are as the creative power and energy, they don't realize where they're focusing their attention. They're focusing that creative energy to it too, and therefore creating in their life these distortions based on forced identity. And then you want to bring other people into that forced identification from young. I mean, leave these youths to understand what they choose to, you know, wake up to themselves, rather than you want to impose some idea to try to say, yeah, we're facilitating that. But you come with a dude dressed up he's got a beard and a wig on, blonde, what you got, Marilyn Monroe or Goldilocks, and you know, he's dressed up like drag, and you know, children don't have bias, and what you got, the prejudice that you know is later on learned and so forth. So they will like, oh, that looks strange and different and so forth, and be just children to, you know what I'm saying, some strange looking thing, right? But you want to turn around and use that strange little thing to indoctrinate the children's mind and say, listen, it's okay for you to grow up look like me. You know, it's your choice. How's that a choice if you're actually imposing something with your presence and you got an agenda behind why your presence is even there? So look, man, anyway, this is not what I wanted to talk about this gender bender business. But you got to understand about what person, you know, if you're dealing with personhood and you're identifying with person, some crazy ideas you're gonna may start to identify with, and you don't realize that this is the poison of what they call humanity, this personhood. You see, as I said, it's about stepping into selfhood. There's a saying that goes, and these yeah, man, it's in these scriptures, man. The saying goes, take care of those who. All right. The saying goes in a layman way. It goes, take care of those who serve me, and make weary those who serve you. Now, these scriptures are all talking esoterically. It's about you, right? The innermost you, the deep I, and you know, like seek first the kingdom of heaven. You know what I mean? It's not literal. The kingdom of heaven's within you. It's talking about the source of being. Seek first the realization of yourself. You see? So when it says, take care of those who serve me and make weary those who serve you, what it means is take care of those who seek to know the truth of themselves, to honor source in truth, in spirit, Yeah, wake up to realize those who have the desire to know the truth of themselves, take care of them. But those who desire to serve the person, the personhood, materiality, oh, what more of what the person wants in the world in order to make themselves a better person. Huh? He said, make them wary. Because you see, what you have with a lot of people is that many people are growing older, but they're not growing up. There's a difference between growing up and growing older. You know, say, oh, you're grown up now. What? Because you can stand up on your two legs and, you know what I mean, you sprouting like a shoot, you know what I mean, over some of the members in the family. Oh, you grown up now. No, they tell you you're growing older, right? Because from 0, they're starting to put time on you. Oh, you're 1 year old, 2 years old. Oh, what, you're 5? Oh, what? You're 15 already? Damn. 30 years old. You know, old. You're old. That's always trying to put age on you from the womb. Oh, how much semesters are you in? How many months? You know, man. Oh, 1 month old. How many days old? You know what I'm saying? How many seconds old? You're just putting age on you, okay? So this growing older is not the same as growing up. When you look from the grassroots level of any seed and plant, you know, sprouting, it's sprouting. It's sprouting up. It's growing. But as it's growing, it's maturing. It's maturing. It's not growing and aging like and then decays. It's actually maturing. It's growing up and maturing into the fullness of what it is. And while that's taking place on the surface, where you can see visibly, physically, beneath the surface, invisibly, deeper within, the roots are going deeper to and connected with a deeper source, deep inner eye, source. You see what I'm saying? Okay? And all you're seeing is the physical manifestation of the invisible operation and invisible presence and invisible directive power of the growth of that plant. And it's the same with ourselves. But we're just looking at the physical form, oh, it's grown. You know, what's growing that? What's developing it? Because as I said, the person you believe yourself to be, you can go back in your memory and observe, oh, these different stages in your life from a, you know, babe, maybe, you know, some people can go back and remember when they were in the womb, all right? Yeah, to show you that you're more than a body. To have that remembrance, there's an awareness to be aware of a certain stage in development and growth. That awareness itself isn't growing and developing. That awareness is observing and is aware of the action or the function of growth and development. You see the difference? So there's a greater you and a lesser you, if we put it that way, and it's about us identifying with the greater in this time, because we're in the age of soul. We're in the age of soul, which is understanding the non-physical nature of thyself. So you have, in ancient times, there was this understanding, understanding, overstanding, because you're dealing with more deeper spiritual rooted foundations of knowledge, of self-knowledge. Back in the times of antiquity, they call ancient times. And there is this understanding, which is to understand that you got the spirit, and you got the soul, and you got the flesh. You always hear about a triad, a trinity. But this is also representation of creation, stages and steps. Creation unfolds through the process. So you have spirit, and you have soul, and you have flesh. Now, you all have this question about soul, you know, soul. And I've told it, you know, go back and check out the shows I did on soul, the animus and the anima, and amor, the light of the soul, love. What is love? You know, I talked about that. Go back in my earlier shows. But you got the soul, which is actually the manifestation of spirit. Okay? And then you have the flesh, right? Which is the manifestation of the soul. Now, what that means now is this. You see, the spirit, inspiration, respiration, spirit. Spirit, you're breathing in. It's life. Okay? So, you come out from this primordial ocean of ecstasy, which is the spirit of the infinite. The infinite, the becoming aware of itself in that moment, in that awareness was the ocean of pure cosmic love, primordial energy, okay, created. It was the awareness of infinity of itself. Infinity. Yeah? Because even these words are limiting. Infinity, limitlessness, became aware of itself. And in that awareness of itself, brought forth this ocean of cosmic love, ecstasy, creative energy. Okay? The spirit. It's like breathing out. You'd also see that as the breath. And that is formless. And the first form, what came into visibility, was the soul, which is always, usually, more time, symbolized as a flame, light, radiance, soul. You end up having the term solar, sol, as in the sun. And there is in the creation story, if we want to put, mythology, suns are the firstborn. Before you got planets, before you have solar systems and galaxies, suns are firstborn. So the sun, Ra, coming out from Nun, the primordial ocean of consciousness, the primordial state of the awareness of being aware of itself, which is joy and ecstasy, and all of creation, all forms manifest visibly out of that substance. Hence why they say love is the power, but it's primordial love energy, not person love, not the person, not the person. The person's love. The person, man. Yeah, the person is filled up with all these stories and force identification and emotional attachments based upon force identity. And the fear of this identity dying, or the person has a fear of dying, has believed there's a beginning and an end. So when I'm saying you growing up, and there's no growing, a lot of people are growing older, but they're not growing up. They're not growing up in the spiritual awareness of themselves. In the ancient time, elders were called elders because they were more elder, wiser in the whole process of life, coming into knowing themselves and understanding the stages that at first the person, the force identity, being identified with the force self, the stages in the youthfulness, right, of that growth that you would go through, right, until what? You become wary of the person and you begin to surrender this person you surrender to your true self, okay? So there is elders who have been through their own direct experience, you can say way showers, but not doers for you, through sharing their wisdom coming from the very place you want to be and not realizing you are already that. There's nowhere for you to go. You see what I'm saying? It's more of surrendering and letting go of the illusions of being a person and all the history and the trauma and all of that stuff that you're giving energy to and playing out. You see? So this is why it's very vital. It may seem like, oh man, this is you see, the person would think this. because it's all in thinking. They're thinking so much, thinking their way out of a box, trying to think their way, through life, trying to think their way out of a problem, think their way, how to heal, think until they stink. And, then the person's in a state again. You know what I'm saying? This is with all of us, all right? Coming from the different degrees, you're at levels you're identifying with personhood. So you have those who stepped out of personhood, y'all. And this is the whole thing about waking up to God within yourself. You see, as long as you choose to identify as the person, right, rather than knowing you are the personification of pure consciousness awareness, you are pure consciousness. You're the empty open space that fills everything and is the presence within it that's aware of even the space of awareness within itself. Sounds twisty, yeah? But you are a formless being, like the ocean of consciousness, but out of the ocean of consciousness emerges waves, apparent separate forms. Or within the ocean of consciousness, you have all these life forms, living, moving, and having their being within it. You understand? All right. So this is you. This is your beingness. So we're moving into this age of soul. Do you get me? Soul, y'all. Soul, soul, soul. And another way of saying it, it's to enter into the non-physical dimension of yourself. You see, the non-physical reality of you. If you identify more with this person, the person has fears, the person is insecure, the person has fears, the person has these things that the external world things triggers you, and then you find yourself caught up in the bangarang like another person. You see what I mean? Rather than stepping back and observing this from a more detached place, but more of an awareness of yourself, rather than getting caught up in the forced identification. And now it's too late. You're all caught up. You're caught up in a story now. You're caught up in a situation. Yeah. So, person versus the self. Person versus the self. This is why there's a lot of spiritual persons. A lot of spiritual persons. A lot of spiritual personalities. You see what I mean? Because the person wants to become, it's all about the person. I need to become more of something. The person's competing against others who it may perceive as more where they may want to be. And that's only perception of themselves that they're not already there, because they're identifying with the person who believes they're not already there, rather than the being who already is. You see? See, this is experiential stuff. You see, the time coming, and I said this about back in 2000, but I wasn't on my own radio channel then, or my own radio show. And I said, look, man, the generation I feel will come through, we're the last ones who, about, reading, even looking for, about taking all that time, to study thyself. It's like now it's not about all the books you've read. It's not all about, another spiritual teacher in this book, and this another person has found another way to try to alleviate some more of the person's ills, while they're still identifying as being a person. You see, this becomes what we call, I'm in the healing modality, and but you're still a person. And I said that, look, y'all, you got folk who don't want to listen to youths now. They ain't gonna sit down and read, go through the stuff my generational vibration went through, for example. It's like, it's not about the books. It's about being a living embodiment of the book of life that you are. You see what I mean? It's like all these experiences that you've gone through. They lead you. They're like stages of you waking up more to who you really are. Okay, and then the more you emerge or into true self-recognition, then the more you're able to speak direct from experiencing yourself as consciousness itself, or your higher self. Because, you know, this thing about higher self, you know, become your higher self, you know, is like, again, there's this duality of being two. And you are your higher self, because without your higher self, you wouldn't have the personification of your soul in a physical form, or I should say, your soul would not have constructed this physical form, okay? Because your soul is a manifestation of pure spirit, pure consciousness. So light, and the soul is a light body, a light being, okay? So you got more finer and finer levels and densities of what is called material or matter. So your soul consists of a very subtle material, if we want to use that term, and we're dealing with light. So your soul is the first manifestation of form from pure spirit, pure consciousness. And then your physical form, flesh, is now the manifestation that your soul constructs for its vehicle of expression. So the point I'm making is that you wouldn't be here without your higher self. You wouldn't even be able to have any physical experience if it wasn't for your higher self. So it means that you are your higher self. But the illusions of believing that there is two, higher self, lower self, keeps you in duality forever if you don't kill the illusion. This is why you got Kali in this time of the Kali Yuga, where she's the destroyer, and she's cutting off man's heads, and you see her with all 4 arms with blades, and man's heads holding from his hair and blood dripping out neck. It's cutting off the person. It's getting rid of the illusion. There is a statement in where it says, I'm going to tell you, where it says, look, source, the creator, God, all right, is not respecter of person. Because source, God, isn't a person. The God you're looking for is actually your awareness of being, pure consciousness. And your individuated consciousness originated from the source of all consciousness, because all is consciousness made visible. So consciousness is not a respecter of persons, because consciousness is non-physical. Person is an object. Person is a form. Person is a thing. Person is that which has a beginning, middle, and end. You see what I'm saying? Therefore, it is not real. It's not a reality. It's like waves coming and going. But that which observes the coming and going is the reality. That doesn't come and go, and that is what I am. That is what I am is. I am is the self-definition of the absolute. So I am consciousness. I, consciousness, am, is the true identity of the I originally, before it became identified with the person. You see? It's like fell into a dream and got lost in a dream. And now you're identifying with this person. And consciousness is to wake up to itself, to snap out of this illusion, in order to then now, what? Be the savior of yourself, the healer of your, You bring forth, that's why it says, take care of those who seek to know the Most High, seek to know the truth. of themselves, who seek to serve me in truth or honor God in truth. It's you. It's your pure consciousness, it's spirit. Okay? And make weary those who choose to serve the world, serve the person. As I said, you have people who are growing older, but they're not growing up. They're not spiritually maturing. They're holding on to this person. You have people meditating and going through this and that for years. You know what I'm saying? You know, they're all in double figures, man. You know, they're aging. And they still have no direct experience of the inner knowledge that comes forth from the source of their being as them, the great I am. You understand? It's all like, well, more in mind knowledge and more concepts to ponder over. Yes, I've gathered a lot of conceptual knowledge. I'm really, I've done a lot of work where I'm understanding a lot of this. But you know, at the end of the day, they'll come to this. But I still don't have any experiential knowledge. You see? And the thing is that experiential knowledge is easier than reading a ton of books. Because you are already that. Which you, instead of experiencing through surrendering the illusions, you know, when someone says, listen, man, sit down and relax. Just take a deep breath and just sit down and be still and just relax. You know, when somebody tells that, you see how close you are, so close to home that you are so close to home. Because what is happening there, if you could just get this point, is that what they're telling you to relax. Really, what you're going to relax. But you're going to really, it's about another way of saying surrender into yourself. Relax into yourself. Just relax into being. You know, empty yourself of all these thoughts and labels you identify with. I mean, observe. It's like you can be the ocean, observing all the marine life, you know, moving, having their being, you know, moving, having their life within it. But you're just observing all of that taking place within your beingness, but you're not attached to none of that. You know, you're not identified with this coming and going of these passing energies and currents and thoughts and feelings. You see what I mean? And to surrender is to hold on to nothing. That's what it means to hold on to nothing. You know, it means to hold on to no thoughts, hold on to none of these ideas the person is defining themselves through and holding on to. You know, it means just relax, surrender into yourself, into your heart. And the breath helps because we're so focused on person, the physical. The breath helps you, you know, put your attention on that. Relax deeper or surrender more into just being, just the presence. Okay? And the more you can do that, the more you dissolve, you let go of the illusion. There's nothing to fight. But we believe there is something to fight. So we create oppositions to the fight we believe we have in ourselves against what the person believes it has to fight against. So we perpetuate and create a state of conflict. You see? So, so we're entering this time of soul. And this is why all this talk about consciousness is coming forth. Consciousness, you know, levels of consciousness, you know. But the thing is like your soul is expanding throughout all these planes of consciousness. There's only one. Well, there's just a multi. Yeah, you're not dealing with separate consciousnesses. You're different. You're dealing with different depths and dimensions within it, if you want to say. Okay, because consciousness is the creative substance, the original cause. All things made visible is consciousness. Consciousness is all things made visible. So this is why you're hearing a lot about consciousness, yeah, and into connecting planetary transits, and you're hearing things about high frequencies coming into the planet. You're dealing with conjunctions that haven't happened for the last 735 years, marking and indicating a serious point, okay, a time, all right, you know, of events, triggers, things to take place. But you're dealing with a giant, you know, a huge movement in consciousness, within the universal consciousness, within the cosmic mind. And we as consciousness, we're the ones that are the form is the physical conduit for the consciousness, the vibration, what you choose to radiate, to affect and impact the environment, all creation throughout the universe. You see, knowing who you really is really is the master key behind everything, absolutely. Hence why such effort to keep you identifying with the person, where the persons would even ridicule another who's more higher self-realized by saying, who do you think you are? You know, the person would always ridicule whom it feels threatened by, because the energy makes it feel less than, because the person's already believes, you know, it's this identification with no one's perfect, you know, not being complete. That's what perfect means, complete, whole and complete. And you expand within that perfection, that completeness, that wholeness of yourself. But you see, the person, no one's perfect, because it doesn't feel complete, because the person's always constantly, I gotta do something, improve, or feeling there, oh, what's the use, you know, giving up on the person they believe they are, which they call themselves. You see, these things, these are the troubles in people's minds, which creates this mental instability. And in 2020, 22, you see, 22 is a master number, but 2 plus 2 is also 4. And 4 is the mind, fundamental, here, fundamental, foundation of your mind. 4, 1, the creative energy, you see. 3, the power of manifestation, yeah. This transformation aspect of 13, but you also have, it comes to 1 and 3. 1 and 3 comes to 4. 4 is mental. 4 is like, people who are 4s can be really good in writing, you know, communicating themselves very clearly through the written word as such, writing books, very analytical, you see, and very quick, but you see, you got a flip side to that too. They can be very depressed. They can be very neurotic, and they can have mental, you know, imbalancement, because look, 4 is foundation for 4th, yeah. You got a square, you see. 4 represents the Emperor card in the tarot. That's about, you know, being the one who directs their own mind, rather than being ruled by their mind and forcibly identifying with their mind. The Emperor, the empowered one. You see what I mean? Self-mastery. Or tyrannical. If you're dealing with a person, yeah, you're just dressed up in a costume, you know what I'm saying, with a crown, but you have not come to self-realization. You know, the crown represents the opening of the what? The crown chakra, the divine connection, all right, relation you have with yourself, huh? So you're identifying with your higher self, the king, crown, emperor. You see what I'm saying? Or you're a person identifying with a person who wants to have power. You see? And how am I going to get some more? Because the person believes it needs to feel more powerful, and the person therefore believes it needs to have power over people or tyrannically doing so. Do you see what I'm saying? That's where the sickness comes as a person. The person is not the nature of the self. The nature of the self is not the person. But the nature of the self can express itself through the mass, the person. You see? Because really the person doesn't exist. It's not real in itself. It's just full of stories that are being identified with. Consciousness is getting tied up with and identifying with it. This is the whole reason why we're dealing with the liberation of the soul in this time. Aquarius. And why we're in the soul age. So all of this is because the energies that we're dealing with here is going to be, there's going to be a lot of people's difference of opinions and difference. And there's going to be a lot of clash with the strength of the identification of these difference in beliefs that persons identify with to define who they are as individuals or groups. And this is about transcending the person. You see? Spirit is eternal. Spirit has no beginning and has no end. You have no beginning, have no end. See, when your body, when you think about this vehicle and you call it dies or you let it go, the soul lives on. And according to the level of consciousness a soul has attained, okay, right, of itself, right, will determine whether the soul goes back to source creator, okay, into those higher realms, or continue coming back into the flesh to continue its growth. You see, while in the flesh, the soul experiences limitations, you see, which is the physical realm. Now, and the fact is that we come from prime creator, pure source, yeah, energy, source creator. So if we were, yeah, I don't want to kind of lose y'all, but this is the cycle, you see. See, the soul, yeah, consciousness waking up more to itself, okay, to return to realize, hang on, the source of itself, its own true origin, its source of being, okay, because the soul has direct. Your oversoul, they call higher self, is you. And its consciousness is universal and infinite and goes beyond time and space, as our origin, our source of being is beyond time and space, you see. So if you, to the degrees of, as you wake up to yourself, to how much awakening or expansion soul's waking up to itself, because really what you is awareness realizing itself. This is what this whole essential journey is. So the degrees of realizing yourself is to the degrees you're setting yourself free from the illusion of the person and entrapped in the fleshy identity to have to keep coming back to be doing the same thing. Yeah? And based upon the level of awareness, self-awareness you come to determines where you move on to also. But if you're identified with this person, the person is the illusion. You come from the all and you return to the all, you see. I am in all and all is in me, one in all and all in one. It's yourself this is talking about, the I am. So the person versus the soul, 2020, clear vision is needed through that comes through the aligning with your higher self. Now, it looks like, yeah, I know what I'm going to do here. In this respect, now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cool it down here a sec. And I just love this John. It's by Johnny Hammond, who's a drummer, but he's playing the drums on this track. But the overall musicianship and the feel of this just track, it's an old tune for me. I love playing it. I haven't played it for a while. And it's just beautiful sounds and feel, and I'm gonna share it with you right now. Ba-da-da-da-dum. Enjoy. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell me what to do, man. That was Johnny Hammond. I love that track, man. You see, that was back in 1975. The music was so sweet, tuned more to the heart frequency. And yeah, beautiful. Um wait, whoa. Okay, so um right now, I think I just got a call coming. I've got a call coming. And hang on a second. Okay, I think it's Clyde, but 1 second. Hang on a second. Here we go. We go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, you can hear.
Greetings, how are you?
Greetings, Clyde. How you doing, brother?
Yes, all right, good man.
You know, I thought you were gonna come in earlier as such, but as I didn't hear from you, I carried on going into the show how I was doing it. The age of soul, person versus the self, and it's not a verse as in it's a conflict from the personality perspective, but that duality of what's going on, and this need for this aligning with our true self. A lot of the issues we got going on is a lot of it is based upon such of the identification, stronghold identification with the person. But I remembered we were talking the other day, and the astrological things we were talking from that level of how the energies are moving and activating and bringing up. It's all orchestrated, like a cosmic orchestration going on here, while on the terrestrial level, the person or the ego is trying to fight and still try to hold control, gain control over what it no longer can control. And now we're in the age of soul, which is waking up to the non-physical dimension and the reality of our non-physical self and how it interacts with the physical, rather than being limited to the physical. So yeah, and I was listening to this the video on your channel you shared,
Yeah, okay.
And I was, you was talking because we talk astrologically as well on these language, but you was saying some real interesting things. I wanted to share this with folk because the year 2020 we are in, and I'm just lining up this discussion here to within the context, for the listeners. Galactic Clyde is I'm cosmic, he's galactic. This based upon was it the token Mayan calendars, isn't it? From where our
Mayan Zalkin,
yes. So for listeners, why I'm calling myself cosmic as my AK and Galactic Clyde. It's not some ego thing to say, oh yeah, I'm galactic, I'm cosmic. It's actually correlated to our makeup. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Our astrological tone.
Yes, our astrological tone, a cosmic tone, So
yes.
I come on the Red Earth 13, cosmic, Red Earth, and Clyde comes on the galactic. Is it Galactic Earth?
Yes, Red Earth. So
yeah.
we're both Red Earth.
We're both Red Earth.
Red Earth. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So Earth is about the movement, man. It's about the energy grid and all of that stuff. Synchronicity and all of that.
Absolutely.
That goes with the Earth, and the tones now is just from what they call from 1 to 13. 1 being magnetic and 13 being cosmic.
Right. Look at that.
And so this is the Mayan system. Using numbers and different density or dimensional.
Yes.
Which is the number vibration falls on,
Yes.
Yeah. Number 1 is magnetic because it pulls the energies together,
Mm-hmm.
and lead it off to, into the 2, which is the lunar, into the 3, which is the electric, into the 4, which is the 4 is, what 4 is again? What's the 4th doing? Self-existing. 5 is the overtone, 6 is the rhythmic, 7 is the resonant, 8 is the galactic,
All right.
9 is the solar, 10 is the planetary, 11 is the spectral, 12 is the crystal, and 13 the cosmic.
Right. Look at that, man.
Yes, yes.
I love that, man. You just reeled it off, man. And, you know, in relating to, look, this 2020 we in, and we know about, you know, we've been talking about these conjunctions and transits and, you know, what took place last year. And we were talking about, we were talking about the winter solstice and the summer solstice, which is actually back on back. And the energies you wanted to explain and talk about with that. And he was talking about from the 12th of Jan, well, we're in the 21st now, but we're in the Two of Spades, white magnetic wizard. This is the energy we're in now. For the first half of the 2020, and then he was moving into what's going to happen in July the 26th. What we're in the blue lunar storm, and
for the 26th,
and the summer solstice, winter solstice, because you know we're on that. Because we know we have a summer solstice at the same time we have a winter solstice over here, folk. And actually everything, you know, and everything that we were talking, when they talk about Christ and all of that, that was the southern solstice. You know, you're not going to have no baby born in the middle of the winter in the northern hemisphere, and that story is based around that. So it's the southern hemisphere that one has to understand or orientate to understand this whole theological, what they call Christian Christ story. But you was in Zimbabwe around that time. And yeah, there's just a lot I want you to talk about. So that's why I'm just bullet pointing certain things.
Okay, let's talk about it, because what it is that it's important because we're in high time now, we're in soul consciousness time now, and it's important for people to understand that there's the veiled teaching and there's the unveiled teaching, you know. So the veiled teaching tells you that Jesus was died on the cross and all of that stuff that people are familiar with. But the unveiled teaching is completely different. The unveiled teaching go back to the ancient world, dealing with the sun, the movement of the sun. The people that wear the cross don't know that they're wearing the southern cross. The cross is symbolic of the southern cross, which is the same constellation that the sun goes to the farthest south. When the sun goes farthest south, it meets the southern cross. It died on the cross. It's at the southern point.
Yes.
Which is the southern point on the cross.
Yes.
Then he comes back into the northern hemisphere, and he crosses over what they call the equator, which they call the crucifixion or the crucifixion.
That's right, crucifixion.
You know, and that's where you come back into new life, which we call spring. But when we have in spring this side of the world, the other side is having fall. And when we have in summer this side of this world, the other side is having winter, or what they call the dry weather, or the drought time.
Exactly.
Or for some people it might be rainy season.
Yes.
So we're having this round circle cut in half, and you got what is called the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn.
Yes.
And so this is halfway to the circle. And so the inner teaching, or what they call the outer teaching, goes into giving you the different saints that we have, which is symbolic of the what is called the solar system and the planetary bodies. And you know, what you call anthropomorphic, and some people are caught up with the anthropomorphic.
In human forms. That's basically the symbols in human form. Anthropomorphic. Yes, go on.
Yes. So people are locked into that and not realizing that there's a deeper method and there's a deeper understanding to that teaching, what is called the outer teaching. For those people who are familiar with the scriptures, which is dealing with the scriptures in its sense, veil the inner teaching via the outer teaching. So most people are familiar with the outer teaching, but don't realize there's a deeper dimension to it. Well, when you go back and you did the talk about the holies of holies and the temple, you got 3 levels to the temple: the inner, and you got the middle, you got the outer, then you got the first, second, you got the third, second. So just like how the brain, you got the mental state, you got the physical state, and you got the spiritual state. And so these are the different dimensions. Most of the information that people are familiar with is the body, the garment, as they call it. You know? But the garment is not the person.
Well, the garment ain't the self. The garment ain't the self. The garment's the person. That's the issue. Go ahead. Yeah,
that's why they used to say, rend your heart and not your garment.
Not your garment,
because people used to tear off the garment to say that they're worshiping, and it's no. Rend your heart, man. Tear your heart up.
Yeah, exactly.
Show that you really care. Show that, because people say, oh yeah, I love, and they'll pass a homeless person, oh I love, and we have all this stuff going on with all this, what kind of love? Because when you love and don't care, then that's not real love, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing.
People always show.
Exactly, but you see, with that, and I want you to continue. I just want to inject here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
With that, this person, you see, is part of this religious and teaching where a person's trying to be good. They're trying to be good. So we're doing. Yes, exactly. So you're doing something based upon. You're trying to kind of like do something because you feel there's merit in it, and it's like there's something over there behind you ticking boxes saying, yeah, I saw that. That was a good thing. Like, you feel you're going to be rewarded for this good deed, but it's not coming from the self, which is a spontaneous, the nature of you. Like, for example, there's a nature, they say that people are inherently wicked and evil. This is what they give you through this fall and the sin and the program. But really, exactly, the outer teachings, the lesser teachings. So when you're dealing with the essence of being, everyone's nature is essentially good because you're coming from the source of that goodness, that life. So what happens, I'm saying, is that when people try to live their life by a belief, in trying to believe to be good. Oh, I want to be a good person. I don't want to be a bad person. They're not living through realness. They're trying to do good, but then if they don't feel they get is seen as rewarded or so forth, or they're getting something back from it. If it doesn't come back, then they feel hurt, they feel disappointed, and so forth. But when you're coming from this spontaneous, from the nature of the self, is spontaneous. You kind of like, look. It doesn't matter what race you will see someone falling on the ground and you think, fuck, man, you okay? You know what I mean? You'll naturally kind of go to help them up, right? And that's goodness isn't like, oh, okay, can you give me, $50 for that? Or pounds for that? You're not looking for something from it. And if you don't get something from that as to be the source of where you should receive your feeling good from, then you start, you get people start walking around saying how people take their meekness for weakness and all of that, right? It's the way that person feels, yeah? But when you do something from that spontaneousness, from the inner nature, the reward comes through the glow inside yourself, because that's your nature to do that. You see what I'm saying? And there's a difference in trying to be good and realizing the goodness of that is already consistent within you. You see what I'm saying? So I feel all of this stuff, this religious stuff, again, this misunderstanding of the lesser teachings is keeping people trapped in trying to be a good person rather than wake up to the goodness already that they are. You get what I'm saying? The joy that you always, or you are, the happiness that is actually the state of your being, where you can tune into that and feel that expansion. So anyway, that's what I wanted to inject on, but I want you to continue with what you're saying.
Let me go into this trying to be good, and let's talk about the people. Let's talk about the people in the trance, because I hear you talk about the trance and the trance this and the trance that. There's a lot of people in the trance. And they got to get out of that trance. Man. Because they're just like the Christians as well. They got false teaching that they carry out the garment.
That's right.
So when they talk about trying to good, let's just look at the word try, the triangle. The triangle have to deal with what? Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding.
Right.
So if you're trying to be good and you don't have those, then you're not trying, because you're not linked with the triangle.
Yeah, I hear that too.
Because what? Love without wisdom is not love.
Exactly.
Love without knowledge is not love. And love without understanding is not love.
Or wisdom without love or compassion ain't true wisdom. You see what I mean? They have to be balanced, and hits the triangle.
Be in that triangle.
That triangle.
Therefore, you're having the angle of what it means to be good. So no more trans this and trans that and trans the other. It means that you're in an illusion.
You know what I mean?
To people out there, they tell you they're trans, they're in an illusion.
Yeah.
That's why they trans this and they trans that. And you know what? That's what we're talking about.
And you know what?
None of them are in a trance.
And then I was mentioning earlier about the transgender. The transgender thing, you know what I mean? Trying to confuse all of this difference and so forth, you know what I mean? Again, the outer garments is what identifying with the creating this.
Trans. They call it gender trance is, and trance is, as far as I'm concerned, is trance and it's illusion. It's that negative, what they call it, Neptune in Pisces, negative. Not the positive Neptune in Pisces, it's the negative.
It's the negative.
The negative is
Yeah.
just illusion. It's just a puff of smoke.
Delusion.
It's not a real person.
That's right. Not a real being. Because again, there's a very difference to this person. Because look at the word person means mask, okay? And we always talked about the personality. And we under chat about the soul. And we know that, hang on a minute, astrology is about the soul, not the personality. But the personality is a construct for like a car, like an equipment, an instrument for the self, the soul, the true self, to express and experience itself through the higher self. But many people get caught up in the complexities of the person, the personality, the story, the attachment, the forced identification with these stories and the emotional experiences of the past and so forth. And they create a prison based upon this person, and in the psychological and emotional state of depression and fear. That's only the person that holds those type of beliefs. The person believes that there's the beginning and an end, so the person fears dying. And you know, when we talk about the shadow of death, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I fear no evil. Well, the shadow is telling you the shadow of death. Yeah, so it's telling you it's an illusion. You have to conquer death, the illusion of death. Go past this fear of believing, oh my gosh, there's the end to you. Who you really is, whom and what we truly is, I am, doesn't die. There's no such thing as that. Yeah, but that is held in the mind of the person. The identification, when you was mentioning about, the greater my term of it is the greater and lesser mysteries. And a lot of people are dealing with the lesser mysteries as if to say it's the greater mysteries.
Outer teaching.
Yeah, they think it's the greater when it's like, you know what I mean? The greater mysteries is you.
What is important, they have to understand, the inner teaching takes you out of space. So you're not
out of time and space. Yeah, that's right.
So the inner teaching will take us into the other dimension. They don't have to be trans this and trans that. But going back to the triangle, we're talking about the triangle. One aspect of the triangle is the body. Another aspect of the triangle is the mind. And another aspect of the triangle is the soul, or the real person, as we say. So when you look at it, you look at the first aspect, the body. The body is like the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom is dog-eat-dog world. You know what I mean? You chase it down, you rat and a cat and all of this kind of stuff. That's the nature of the animal world. And a lot of people are caught up on that animal nature,
Yeah, living for the person. Yeah,
like
have to feed the person.
Run down a fox, run down a goat, and that's his meal. And the goat runs something down, and it's just that whole, going down as a dog-eat-dog world. That's the nature of the outer person. But the mental person now would be more like the minerals. It's like giving the energy, helping you to vibes on another dimension. While when you go to the next one, now you go to the celestial realm, which is the planetary body, which represents or symbolic of the inner man, the deeper reality of man, which is the soul.
Yeah, the deep eye.
The soul assisting within man.
Yes, sir. That's right.
And so that's a whole different nature, but they don't want us to go there. There's no scientific grounds for that.
you see, this is again the mentality. When you're dealing with the lower mind, want to put itself on a pedestal and don't want to deal with consciousness, the original cause of all. But you see, so man, it's good what you're saying. I want you to touch on these things though that you were saying as well about from the Mayan.
The planet.
Yeah,
the planets of the Mayan.
The Mayan.
We're in. Okay, the cycles of the Mayan goes from 1 to 13. So you got 1 to 13 every during the weekly cycle, which they call a wave spell. Yeah. So we
I know that. Just to hold you. No, it's when he was going in about this year specifically. Yeah, about the tour state.
I'm coming to that.
All right then.
So what I want to show people is just like the cycle of the week. You got Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday. Yeah, that's the week energy. Yeah, which they call a week. We call it actually a week, 7 days. Yeah, but the Mayan have a 13-day week because they're using the 13-day system. The Kemet them have the 10-day week. Yeah. So in that system of the Mayan, we have what they call the weak, the higher active of that, which is 13 years. And then you have a higher active of that, which is 13,000 years, something like that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And what it is really, what we call the Mayan in the system, they divide the 26,000 years into five different sections.
Right.
Yeah? But
Which is 2 times 13.
But not to go into right now.
Which is 2 times 13, right? For the end of the
Sorry?
procession. Which is 2 13s is 2 times 26 is 2 times 13. So we
26,
get
yeah, 26,000.
so we have 26,000 years. The Mayan calendar in 2012 was the beginning of a new cycle that we're into now, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go on. It's just correlating it
but
with the
really, when you look at it from where we are with the Zolkin, this year, which is last year from July to this year, July, begins a new tone, which is, you get the 13th tone. We're in the magnetic tone now.
Right.
Yeah? Which starts our new 13-year cycle.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you could have the cycle with the tones, or you could have the cycle with the seals. You got 20 seals, you got 13 tones.
Yeah.
So the 13 tones goes from magnetic to cosmic. You're the cosmic,
Yeah.
So that's the 13 tone. 13 tones is like it's your end of cycle to start another cycle. So right now we're in a new cycle, which brings us back to 1968.
Right.
Which you call the synchronic code. Under the synchronic code, every 52 years, the same code or the same synchronic energy returns on the planet based on the 52-year cycle. Just like we said, Monday synchronized with last Monday because it's the same energy rules Monday, the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Misty Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Same energy rule Friday. So Friday, whether it's Friday last week, Friday, all the Fridays are linked because they're ruled by the same planet.
Yeah. Venus.
All the Sundays are linked because they're ruled by the sun.
Yes,
so
exactly.
it's the same thing in the synchronic code where you got 1968, the year that Martin Luther King was killed. Now we're back into the same synchronic code, which is this year. Yeah. So what we normally have under the synchronic code, when it repeats, when it comes back into perspective, you got a revelation of the information that happened back then for the 52 years. And if you go back, I think a couple of years ago, you hear they were talking about the Carroll Garden incident that takes place in Jamaica. What happened 52 years down after that was the payout, where they actually had to recognize what was done and the wrong and the atrocities that was done to the Rastafarian community called the Carroll Garden incident.
Yeah, I remember that.
But when the synchronic code comes, there's a revelation. And so we should hear some interesting information concerning what went down or certain things in connection with Martin Luther King. But I'll leave that for the time and for it to manifest itself in that sense. But when you're in a synchronic nature like that, you get a repeat or you get a revelation. And so it's interesting because the day that I wrote that about the synchronic code with Martin Luther King was the same day an assassination takes place in the Iraqi assassination.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting symbolism that the year started with the whole concept of assassination, and it's the year of the same year of the assassination of Martin Luther King. So something is in the wings. And it's not just a bird.
Yeah, man, I hear you. That's very interesting. So we're in the white magnetic wizard.
Magnetic wizard, yes.
Yeah.
And the white magnetic wizard is like the Jaguar energy. The wizard represents timelessness.
Right.
So we're in a very, very deep cycle because the wizard is what it means. It means somebody who's a high magician on the good part.
I recall you were saying that it represents intuition into the higher dimensions of the timeless.
Dimension, yes.
And as we're moving into this new 13-year cycle, we're in the cycle of that's assisting, the energies are assisting us to shift or move our consciousness more into the higher, is it 4D dimension? The higher 4D dimension. I mean, you're aware that the 4 density frequencies are also anchored in here now, yeah?
Yes, because we're in a density change, yes, and we're moving to 4th, 5th density, from 3rd density planet in that sense.
Okay.
So a lot of people are going through a lot of turmoil now because you have to have the storm form in order before to you have that form.
Yeah.
Because we have to move from a one dimension to the other. It's the same thing where you're taking a car from the local to a highway. The engine have to rev, otherwise you ain't gonna go nowhere.
Yeah, man, we hear you.
So we go to that rev or the revelation of things. You know, it's in the language.
Yeah, man.
So we're revving up.
Yeah, for real.
Up to move to another dimension.
And the thing is, it's about reverence for real. Reverence for the primordial love energy of ourself, you know? Because it's that reverence. It's not that personhood love, which is all, you know what I mean? It's about the deeper reverence of the deep I, you know, the deep I, not the surface I, which is what, you know, I was saying, many people are going to get mentally caught up because they're splashing on the surface, trying to find solutions on the surface, afraid to let go of this identity, this person, in order to surrender into the self, in order to get direct guidance from the intuitive heart of their higher self, you see. So what's happening is that the surface eye, people are most identifying with the person, and they're, you know, the waves on the surface of the water is whipping up and getting strong. And as you know, when there's waves whipping up on the surface, you dive deep in it. And when you dive deep, you're not experiencing the turbulence at the surface, because you are more tuned in to the deep eye, where now is not identified with the how you say, the momentary whipping of waves that's coming and going. It is the presence that contains it all, but is not attached or identified with these illusionary states coming and going, you know? So many people gonna be reacting from the surface eye, and even trying to find solutions to the problems at the surface, when it's like, no, man, this is a deeper thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, okay, I'll put Band-Aid over this, your thing. It's like you're going to try and put, you know what I mean, a plaster over a freaking broken pipe and expecting that to kind of seal the water from dripping out of it. You know what I mean? So this is, you know, and as we're saying, it's like, it's a storm as such, because, you know, you were saying that the blue lunar storm.
We the storm first after the magnetic. So let's finish the magnetic. So this magnetic tone, the last time the magnetic wizard was here would be 52 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, because you're going to the 13 tones all the way down until you finish the whole Zolkin system in that sense. So it takes 52 years to come back to the cycle.
Right.
And that's why we talk about the synchronic code. So the synchronic code for this year, we think, especially this year, is really what we call Kin 172, which is the yellow electric human.
Okay.
So we're under that. So this is strong mental energy this year as well. Electric energy, sparking. So the creativity, all of that stuff is very heightened now under the yellow magnetic, the yellow electric human.
Yeah, that would correlate.
You know, because it's like we just like spark after each other in that sense when you deal with the electric human.
Yeah.
You know.
Would that correlate also with Aquarius? Because Aquarius is also representing the electrical body, electrical system, Aquarius age, you know? Yes. And so, yeah, just seeing a correspondence with it.
Well, I'm interested that you mentioned Aquarius, because when you were talking about all this trans business, I know that, you know, this is when the Aquarius comes, because people don't realize that, yes, you're in touch with your androgynous self, but it don't mean that you have to be androgynous in the sense that you don't understand where you are. You're too trans out to know who you really are as a person.
Exactly. You know? As a being. Because this is the confusion. Because it's the person style. It's the person.
So
you know what I mean?
Coming into Aquarius, you're going to put a hamper on this trans. You're going to listen. You got to understand yourself now. You know what I mean? Yes, you come in as a male, you're a male. If you want to mess that up or you want to change it around, you're just really in a designer situation. But you're not the designer. You didn't design it. You want to redesign. You know, you want to redesign the temple.
Yeah, that's right.
Redesign it, but it still have its original design.
Exactly.
So if you want to trans out or trans in, that's your trans. You know?
Yeah, man. Trans dance.
People, that's what they want. They're on a trance. But when Saturn goes into Aquarius, Saturn's going to do a trance. He's going to show them how the trance go. He's going to try to, Saturn's going to work it out. And so you're going to see a lot of issues concerning this trance.
It's already coming. This transgender stuff is already coming up, because I was saying,
come up with Saturn in Aquarius.
In Aquarius, yeah. It's going to be in March. That moves in there in March till
Yes.
July. Yeah, and then that's going to retrograde back into Capricorn. And
Yeah. No, this is the way to do it. You are already androgynous. You have the male and female.
You understand?
But you're dominantly male or you're dominantly female.
Exactly.
The reason why, because this is how you come in.
Exactly.
But if you want to redesign that, then that's something that you have to realize that's your design. That's not the design by...
That's not divine
force.
design. Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
It's not the divine design.
Man-made design.
Man-made. And they're trying to impose this on the children's minds.
Make it compulsory.
Yeah, make it compulsory. And using the real thing now about diversity, and it's correct. We must understand that there's different, diverse kind of people on the planet, and you have to understand diversity, okay?
Yes.
And Aquarius is about aligning with your own individual uniqueness. It's about the individuality and the uniqueness of that individuality that has come directly from source, and to express and experience that individual unique individuality. But what they're doing now is trying to say, well, mutilating the divine design of your temple is the way to go, children, because you can decide what who you want to be, based on the body. Based on the body.
They have to realize they want to re-decide it.
Exactly.
As they come. But the thing about it, I don't have to wear a pants if I'm a female to say that I have a male side to me, or I don't have to wear a dress as a male to say that I got a female side. We have it.
Exactly.
We have it. Only when you trans out, you have to pretend that, okay, that I need to show that to somebody. No, you don't pump. If people are not educated enough to know that they're both male and female, then leave them alone. Leave them with the trans.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Because they should know that we're both sexes in that sense, in one body. But the dominant is what we come here as.
The
but
vehicle.
in the whole things of consciousness, we can switch between consciousness when we come to the planet, because you could be a female in the past life and come in as a male.
Exactly.
But not come in and redesign yourself. It's not you. It's not our take to do that. If you do that, then you're trans in some way.
Hey, check this. Did you remember this movie called Predestination? Did you watch that movie?
No, I haven't seen that. I'll look.
Man, it was back, I think, in 2014. Listen, watch Predestination. I'm not going to talk about it, but it's connected to what we're talking about here now, and how you have to understand yourself as consciousness and not be identifying with the body, because when you come back, you know what I mean, and you're identifying with the body, and you don't know that your consciousness. And listen, you need to watch this movie. It's called Predestination. You know what I mean? It's basically this. I'll just quickly say this baby was left at the doorstep, and I won't go into, because all of that's all tied up within the whole movie as well. But this baby is a girl, born as a girl, and is very high in IQ and is stronger than the other girls, and also higher in her mental intelligence and all of that, right? So she kind of she ended up passing to go for some Space Corps type of thing to work in there. Anyway, cut long ass story short, she got pregnant from some dude, and then when she now is about to give birth, they put her under anesthetic and did a cesarean. So she would give birth to a girl, but within the operation, the cesarean, the doctor ended up sitting down and saying, has anybody done a real thorough check of you before? And she said, yes. And did they tell you anything unusual with you? And she said, no. Basically, the dude says that when he was opening her up to take out the baby, he found that she had both male and female genitalia, right? Fully grown and developed within her body, all right? But through the trauma of her, the cesarean and so forth, they had to give her an hysterectomy, and cut her womb out.
Yeah.
But then through reconstruction, they were able to take the male organs that she has already fully developed, that also was there in her body, she was born with, and reconstruct it and give her a penis, and then basically turn her into a man, the body, right? The body into a man's body. And she had the breast cut off and that, and then her body chemistry was changing, where testosterone now was starting to flood through, and she was even fertile in the genital area, and in sperm, okay, as a man, okay. And she had the same consciousness, though, the awareness of everything that had happened, but wasn't aware that she's consciousness. Anyway, you'd have to watch the movie. But that movie went into this whole thing about, both gender and so forth. But you guys have to understand consciousness here, you know what I mean, to get this movie. So predestination. Watch this.
That there is some what do you call it? There is money behind the deal. The deal don't just happen like that. There's people are putting their money behind it, and people are putting their power behind it, and this is why it's a power move in the world,
Yeah, it's an agenda,
you know?
Yeah, man.
And so there's an agenda with the agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So check this out now. So therefore, correlating this with what we're into, what's happening now until July, when we're dealing with the intuition, intuition raising up, coming more online, more higher awareness of a more timeless dimension, as we're shifting our consciousness into those energy fields more, as we raise to higher density. Just want to tell the folk, density levels, right, are also, you can say, density levels of consciousness. So the higher density you go, the more subtler your vibration, the more expanded out your awareness, the more also the experiences or creations that we tune into that exist on those higher densities, okay, of consciousness. Because we're dealing with harmonical tones in consciousness that they call scales of consciousness. There's the absolute consciousness, but we got scales, okay, to these tones and frequencies which correlate to the vibrations of consciousness. So just saying that. So we got these density levels, which also correspond to the energy centers in us, and the 7 notes and the 8th octave of a scale in music on a piano. And these also represent states of our consciousness, different states we can tune into by directing our creative energy source to them. But the 4th density is a higher density of consciousness. Okay, this is the love plane, but the higher octave of the 4th density is what we're moving into, because the lower density is still warped up with the person's imaginations and you know what I mean, these things in there. But the higher density, the higher frequency of the 4th dimension is moving more into the higher love center, the light body, as we move into the 4th dimension, which is wisdom, the density level of wisdom. So there has to be this balance between the 4th and the 5th the energy centers within ourselves, love and wisdom. Like you said earlier, we can't be having just love without wisdom, and wisdom without love can become harsh, and love without wisdom makes you, whoops, you know what I mean? Make you like the victim again. Yeah, you get catch up in it. You know what I mean?
You gotta have it in the triangle. That's to make it work.
Exactly. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Because the triangle is the most powerful, most perfect structure. You know, most stable structure.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when I tell people wisdom, love, and light, I don't say love, wisdom, and light, because I put love in the middle.
Right.
If you have love at the end, a problem. You have to love have to be fenced in.
Yes.
Yeah. Even a fencing, it could be the hate.
Yeah.
You fence love in wisdom and light. So I normally say wisdom, love, and light. I don't tell you just love and light. I say wisdom, love, and light. So love in the middle.
You know, that's interesting. That's interesting, brother. Because I said,
if you're not fencing with wisdom and knowledge, it could be hatred. Because some people just hate like that. They don't have no knowledge. They just hatred. Yeah. Because they are coming from the lower man perspective.
That's it. Personhood. Yeah, man.
And they don't have that wisdom to understand, like, we're human, man. We don't need to be dealing with each other like that. Nah, man, that's like animal nature. Which is the lower nature, is the animal nature. You know?
So we're moving. So then you were saying that in July now, because you were talking about the magnetic, we shift into the blue lunar storm. Yeah, talk about
storm.
that.
So, lunar storm, now, when you deal with lunar, you deal with polarity, like the moon energy. The moon is always polarizing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The moon is either full or what they call it, new. Or half, or what they call it, or rising or falling.
Okay.
So the
Waxing,
moon
waning.
is the energy of polarity.
Yeah.
And that's for the Cancer people, and that's for the moon exalted Taurus as well. They're very much polarizing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So the moon, that's the nature of the lunar energy, and so we're having the lunar storm. So that means a polarized storm.
Solely
You know? So that's why if we have to
emotion.
deal with the magnetic energy, then when we go with the storm now, because you see you're moving from one you lead off, then two you got the challenge, and then three now you combine. So what the polarity do, help us to learn to combine their energies. Because whenever we understand that the two opposing forces are just balancing to each other, until we understand that we can't move to three, which is the triangle. And if we don't understand the triangle, we can't move to four, which is the square. You know? And until we understand four, we can't move to five, which is the power, this 5-point star, and all the way up to 13 tones. So yes, when the lunar storm comes, it means that we have been challenged by the storm to look at both sides of the case, to look at the trans and those who are not trans. You know, to look at the people who are knowledgeable and people who don't have the knowledge. Look at people who are hungry and those people who have food. You know, look at both sides. Well, what's the problem? Look at people who have the consciousness and those people who are unconscious. Because there's something going on, and when we look at the both poles, we can understand the situation even better. Because then from that we can move to a number 3,
which is integration.
which is electric.
And I would say that's integration, where you're dealing with, instead of separation, you're realizing like spirit and matter is one whole, and you realize you're a whole being. So integration is where you get the word integrity from. And through integrity, you're coming from this wholeness, you know, this more integral identification with yourself, the wholeness of your being. So this oneness, because I've said that, you know, the thing about unity, unity begins within. It starts with the individual. It doesn't begin outside of you. Unity starts with the individual. So so you know, many people are feeling,
because the individual is one unit.
Exactly.
At the same time, if they don't understand that, they can't connect with other units.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
Exactly. No, you're correct, right? Even the word individual comes from two composite words, which is indivisible duality and inseparable duality. So integrity is always about, you know, you coming back or remembering the unity consciousness of oneself, right? One's oneness within experience, knowing one's oneness with all that is, the all of life. So this is experiential. But from the separative perspective now, this person, there's people, you know, it's this idea of not being enough, or feeling separate, or not feeling a part of, or you know, this idea of this duality, but not understanding that they have to reconcile this duality within themselves, because you got the electromagnetic. Everything is telling you about this duality of this inner force we have within our soul, which is why the soul can create from itself this structure, you know? So the form, the body, the person, the garment. So what I'm saying is that this unity, this unification takes place within the individual. For you waking up to realize you're not a separate being from anything else. You are one whole being made in the image and the likeness of the all being, source being. You see what I'm saying? Where our consciousness, our true nature of our consciousness is universal by nature, not compartmentalized in the domain of the personhood, you know, but expanded in the greater mysteries, we can say, revealed in selfhood, true selfhood. And it's always coming back home to the self. And this is what this whole thing is bringing up now, because with this lunar storm, well, we know the lunar is also linked to the emotions and the emotional reactions and the subconscious. What do you say, brother? You know, so there's going to be a lot of emotional reactions based upon the identification with the personal self-image and the beliefs around that support that illusion. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's talking about it in the context of the white wizard, because the white wizard said that there's a new cycle begins, yeah? And some people are going to be opposite, and that's why the storm's coming. The storm's coming to drag them if they don't want to move, or to remove them if they don't want to stay where they are, you know? new moon energy, where the sun and the moon comes together and impregnates for a new cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there comes the storm. Because there's two energies now vibrant with energy from the unity. And that's what the storm is. That's what the storm is. It's full with energy from the union.
So therefore now, the ones who kind of not resisting this union, because check this union now. This union now is going to be the power, the ecstasy, when you're aligned, it's of source self realization. But if you're resisting it, you're going to experience a whole lot of turmoil and cataclysm and conflict and ranga-banga-rang business,
Yes, that's why they did the storm, because the storm going to say, you can't stay there and be the same. You can't jump in the same river twice because it's a move in energy. And it's like those who don't want to move with the time will move them. That's it.
Yes. Yes, my brother.
I've already done seen a lot of movement. A lot of people out there in Radio Land know what I'm talking about because they already experienced some changes. Big changes I'm talking about with this Pluto energy, the Saturn energy,
and the Neptune.
So we're in Mercury exaltation and Venus exaltation at the same time.
Oh yeah, and we're having a Mercury retrograde through Pisces, ain't we?
No, Mercury not retrograde yet.
Not yet, but we're going to be having that as well.
Yes, so Mercury's exalted, then he goes retrograde, and then he comes back into the exalted retrograde.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to retrograde in Pisces and then come back into Aquarius.
Yes, that's right.
We're talking about technological issues.
Yeah.
In the retrograde, yeah.
What do you think with this Venus, which is exalted in Pisces?
Well, yes.
And I have that actually, and that's going to be conjunct in.
Venus in Pisces is a very interesting energy because Venus represents in a high state of what they call it, the social aspect. So Venus in Pisces represents the feminine circle, the female circle, when they gather together and talk about the old stuff, when they gather together in ceremony. So people who have that strong Venus energy, Venus in Pisces, you would see they have this whole eldership about them, this feminine eldership about them. It's about how do we awaken the ceremonial, how do we get into ceremonial more, how do we maintain the stories and talk about the stories so that we can grow and understand the ancient ways and the different mystical and different aspects of life that makes the social and more cohesive. So under this Venus now is feminine empowerment. Not only for female, but males who have that strong feminine connection.
Well,
so it's about how do we come together? How do we come together and talk about the long gone times? And how do we talk about ceremonial and make this into something worth living for? You know?
You see this part there you're saying now, you see, with the feminine. Let's go into that a bit more clearer because as you said, it's not just the woman as we would, again, this personhood of identity takes the feminine to be just about the woman, and when you had to kind of stress that it's also within the man as well. Now, we also know that the feminine, if we take it away from personhood and that type of ego, the feminine ego, masculine ego of personhood, that distorts this idea of the feminine energy and bring it into the yin-yang aspect or animus anima within ourselves, okay? So the feminine energy is the magnetic, yeah? That's the feeling, inward feeling aspect, that nurturing aspect. All of the qualities that has been attributed to the feminine, but it's also understanding it's the quality of its energy that exists within man as well as the female.
As in women,
as in women. And it's not an ego aspect. No, because what I'm saying, the reason why I'm saying is that you're also getting this thing where the ego, the personality, the ego spirituality of various folk, it's like it's like this kind of capitalizing around this feminine energy, and it's woman only, this and that. It's only about the a separative way of looking at this feminine and masculine energy when it actually exists as as one whole within ourselves, right?
Yes,
it
does.
So within a man's psyche, everything feminine, right, that he sees in nature is a reflection or representation of the feminine archetypal aspect within himself. And with the woman, everything that is masculine within nature is representing the masculine archetype or energy within herself. And she has to, and he has to have that balance, that union you talk about with the three. Is that integration now, where it's like, wait, see, that two ain't separate. They're now, boom, they're fusing. They're fusing into the one holistic wholeness of the realization of its true nature. And this is where you get, again, even you can use it as a metaphor, the orgasm or this intensity of this, of the primordial energy then, the feeling and the ecstasy that source feels within itself, the true nature of ourself feels. Why sexual energy is also experience of the orgasm, like experiencing God in yourself. But because it's not associated with that spiritual nature of ourselves, our light, body, and soul, usually the sex now through the person and the corruptedness in the mind and of how you relate to sex, and all of that business, it gets lost. That higher healing dimension of the sexual energy gets distorted. You see what I mean? And just flipped about.
As you mentioned the word, I think about the whole geometric pattern that goes with that, which is what they call the sextile.
Yes. And sex is six.
Which is really what the hexagram is, really, which is the double triangle, one up and one down.
Yes.
Here's the triangle again, one from the masculine and one from the feminine come together form the hexagram, which is one of the most perfect, what some people call it, the Morgan Dawood or the Star of David. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that is one of the most perfect balance in terms of the best balance in astrology is the hexagram.
And look at it,
which is what represents the sexual sextile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sex and six. Six comes. This is where sex comes from. The number six.
Sexton.
Exactly. And six now. People get all messed up with numbers and try demonizing numbers because 6 is associated with something. Anyway, that is not as high as 9. But all of the numbers have their vibrational qualities. And 6, represents what? It represents the lover's card, right? 6 is that.
Yes.
Yeah, that inner union. Yeah, that beauty and grace and balance. That's 6 also represents that energy. You see what I mean? So hence how the two triangles now that create the hexagram or the 6-pointed star is fire and water, masculine and feminine, joined together where there is the supreme balancement now between the higher and the lower, the cosmic and earthly resonance in the heart of, the center of being, and that harmony and balance is the masculine and feminine within as one whole,
Something is still missing there though, because you mentioned fire and water, but when you say fire and water, you also have to say air and earth.
Air and earth, because the polarity, of course.
Because of the polarity.
Yeah. Because water and earth.
That's why you see when they put the hexagram, it's supposed to be double. One represents the fire and water, and the other one represents the air and the earth.
And water, water and earth.
Yeah, because the energies, they're balancing, harmonizing, balancing that sense of how the energy flow.
And that could
really, it's fire. It's really the other way. Really, it's fire and air and earth and water.
Okay, because
fire in astrology, any signs, your sign, and this is very important for those in radio land listening. Your balancing sign is that sign that is trying to your sign.
So the sign.
The water people, the water people need the earth people. Because the water, you check in the river. If the river don't have no bank, you ain't go.
True thing. It's a flood. A true thing. A flood. Yeah.
Not a river.
Yeah, true thing. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So the bank take care. And so people, when you think about your emotion, which is the river, if you have not to bank it up, man, you're in problem.
Yeah, true thing.
That's why some people say, come get a massage and you deal with that. So let me move the energy.
See.
Because you move in the bank of the river.
You move in the bank of the river.
The flow.
Yes.
Because there's a dam somewhere. I don't know what beaver you get caught up in. There's a dam somewhere. Come and get
A massage.
A massage.
Yeah.
Let's move the energy around.
Yes,
Same
yes.
thing with fire and air. They need each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so all you have to do, whatever sign you are, think about the polarity. The water and the earth, the air and the fire.
Yeah. So like, so like now, say you use a Leo now. So you're saying that Aquarius air is what balance you up. Yeah.
Yes, the air is very important because the fire, without the air, the fire gonna go
exactly.
dead.
So hence I'm air, Aquarius, and it's the fire.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That balance I up because.
And the hot air is like a balloon, man. It just floats away to
Yeah,
heaven.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's how the monk them saying a lot of language when you see them, they do the balloon there. Why think they do? They put a candle and the hot air go up and the balloon gone. It's just hot air carrying the balloon up in the air.
That's right. And it goes high as well, man.
Yeah,
high.
It's just hot air, that's it.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize the toilet paper they use,
Oh, really? Meshy paper and toilet paper.
Toilet paper, man.
Well, look at that, huh? Look at that. Look at that, man. Even elevate shit. Look at that.
Can make anyway, let me not go into that.
What can I say? No, because I was
in Thailand, and I realized that's what they were using,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, man. That with the candle wax, and that's it. That's how it goes.
That's another way of saying elevating shit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, yes, in one sense.
In one sense.
If you don't elevate it, then it's problems. That means that's what.
Well, if you don't eliminate it, it's even more problems.
The ancient says you use laws above laws. When the lower laws is holding you down, you got to look to something higher than yourself.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right. So elevate yourself. That's it. Don't let the excrete hold you down. Rise above it.
You have to release it and rise above it for real.
Yes.
Listen, Clyde, it's coming to that time. It's 10:40, so I've gone over whatever, but it's all good. Man, I thought he was going to call in earlier, man, because there was more that I wanted us to get into. But, with the Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and the signs and so forth, what's going on now.
Yeah. And also the Green Castle coming up as well. The Green Castle coming up from the 6th. And also the Mayan, what do you call it? The Iron Rat. We didn't even talk about the Iron Rat. Which is the new Mayan. Not a Mayan.
It's the Chinese. It's the Chinese
zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
We enter in a new cycle, but time.
Yes.
We can do it next week then if
yeah, and you're going to have to call in earlier, Star, because, man, so because there's a lot more that we could have got into. But one more thing, though, there's something about Neptune, though, I feel I would just want, and you can also add to it before we go. You see, Neptune is the illusion and delusion in Pisces. But at the same time, Neptune is the transcendental state to wake up to reality of yourself. It becomes the illusion or delusion or the trance when you're looking for ultimate meaning outside of yourself. When you are caught up in the mundane, focusing on the person, the physical, and you're projecting this ideal and ultimate meaning in the illusion. And then you're going to have to face the consequences of those illusionary thoughts, those illusionary beliefs, because they lead to consequences. Because what you believe in leads to what you feel, that leads to actions that then manifest what that delusion is. And some people end up going to have to experience in a very, experience the truth in a harsh way for them because of their resistance to actually realizing that Neptune in Pisces isn't about looking outside of yourself for the ultimate source. It's about realizing you contain it all, which is why Pisces is the last sign, and it represents the feet, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Because your feet
is understanding.
You see what I'm saying? Because your feet stand under you. So it's based upon the kind of self-understanding. Do you have erroneous? Do you have spiritual understanding of yourself, or do you have mundane understanding of yourself? Because depending on that, that's where your feet are gonna take you. So in order to transcend the pains and the suffering that come forth on the mundane, you have to step into transcendental beliefs of yourself, that which transcends the earthly plane. Realize your higher self. Realize you are the higher self and you contain it all, because Pisces represents the culmination point or consolidation of all the other signs that proceeds from out of it and returns back to it and starts a new cycle again as the birth of, the divine spark, Aries, exploding forth from the cosmic ocean of Pisces. So Pisces is about the totality of truth, its source within you. But if you're looking outside of yourself for this ultimate truth, this ultimate self, then you're going to get caught up in delusions. You're going to be, this is where people catch up in cults, you know, because they give up independent thought. They start to project onto the guru, oh, he's God, when it's like, no, he's showing you God in you. You know what I'm saying? For you to realize yourself too, but instead you get people who are dealing with the personhood and they're separate thinking, and therefore they're projecting the ultimate meaning and putting people up on the pedestals outside of themselves, even in relationships. And then if the person falls off the pedestal, how do they do that? They no longer play the role. So now the person's delusion is crumbling. Oh, you're not who the person I thought you were, and start thinking the other person is at fault when it's them. They were deluded. So they then turn into this victim, and that's why Pisces can also be this victim. And because if there's no self-responsibility for one's state of consciousness, you see what I mean, for themselves. So you have this society that supports delusions, people being a victim, rather than, hang on a second, you're only a victim to your own delusion, to yourself. You need to wake up to who you really are by looking within for the ultimate source and the ultimate connection you carry within to your higher self, and stop transferring your energy into these man-made flipping doctrines that take you always outside of yourself, that leads you to dry desert you believe is water, as a mirage at the end of the freaking journey. You see what I mean? You see? So it's understanding that with Neptune in Pisces now, you can wake up to this. This is why Jupiter was squaring in Sagittarius Neptune and saying your beliefs now, you need to kind of break free from these limiting fear-based beliefs so you can expand your consciousness. So you can expand your consciousness into the broader reality of who you are, transcendental truth. You are this non-physical consciousness. This is what you are. So hang on a second, what we got, time is going quite fast. Yo, yes, Clyde.
Yeah. Is that timer or what happened?
It was a timer. It was a timer on the call. But yeah, as I was just kind of putting into this perspective before we go about this energy in Pisces with Neptune and Venus moving into it, you know, your self-worth and value, more about who you are as a cosmic being, as pure awareness, you know, not the person. You have the opportunity to open up into more now.
Yes.
You know, if you're,
hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, what's up?
Oh yeah, you on another, someone else? Okay, we on the radio, y'all. So listen, Clyde.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, because we're on the radio now, maybe we should just, tying up, you know, just tying up.
Okay, we speak later then. I think that's what we reached the end.
Okay. All right.
We link.
Okay.
Respect.
You too. Respect. All right, y'all. So that was Brother Clyde. Time in this, you know, kind of, because there was more we could have got into here, man. But anyway, all of this is correlating to person, soul, you know, the energy's coming in to actually bring you flowing with it, or you're going to be there being dragged, kicking and screaming. You see what I mean? As Clyde was explaining from the Mayan calendar or the Chinese calendar, when we're dealing astrologically, because you see how they all link in, okay? Or they all correspond and connect. So it's just that some systems are given more deeper or more of a pure energy wave and, you know, explanation of it with the tokens that and the tonal tones and keys, notes that Clyde was talking about, with 13 years and 13 tones, you see? Oh, and the 22 tokens, tohans, if that's the correct pronunciation of the Mayan terms for their archetypes. So yeah, so intuition heightening, realizing, look, you have to come to realize you are the higher self and begin to do this, sit in and do the work. And when I say the work, it's not even work. It's not even work, because the person thinks it's work, you know what I mean? And And,
I've got a minute
you
or
know,
so to
self
build my
and being
community.
is not the same.
So let me adjust my crown.
Because of the English language, we
When I'm
get
talking about
stuck
my
in
crown, I'm not
using
talking
words
about
that
the
are
crown on my head.
casting
I'm talking
particular
about my
spells,
community. That's our
frequencies,
crown. So I'm saying problems
that are,
happening.
you know, unawares to our, you know, through the subconscious, okay, keeping you in certain identification because of the way of the language, which is why English language, you have to really be very aware of the words you're using to convey what you truly mean in your heart, to yourself, and when you convey from whatever you want to convey, you know, because, you know, a person, there's no true person, there's the being, and the person is the persona, the mask, the garments, the earth, the material. This is the identification that's going to feel a lot of the very, you know, they're gonna experience this storm, okay, this blue lunar storm. Yeah, man, it's gonna be the person's going through shit, basically. You know what I mean? It's always the person, you know. Being ain't going through none of that. You see? The self ain't going through none of that. The self is of a different vibration. The self is heaven. And the more you tune into that and realize more that you are that, then you remain, you see, that state, you stay more in more times. And you express yourself from it. It's not just, oh, I sit here and I'm in this state of emptiness and space, yes, and spacious. No, it's dynamic power, it's intelligence, it's you, it's the true I. And it expresses itself spontaneously through you. So it's not a suppressed thing, but it's a natural, spontaneous expression. And it could be too much for persons. You see what I mean? Because they're trying to hold on to this identity of who they believe themselves to be, and your light could be threatening them, or that idea, that illusion they have in their minds. But look, this is a time where it's not about the book. Reading about spirituality from books. This is about embodiment of the truth. And, you know, the term natural mystic in the song, you know, that was saying those who are born, you know, you're natural mystics. Mystics was those who were in tune with the inner light of themselves. They knew they had vision, they seen the inner light. They have direct experience of the inner light. That's what this symbolizes of why they say enlightenment. But really it's about they came to awareness. They realized that they were awareness, waking up to itself. And this is where you get the mystics, okay? But you can get the polarity of mystics and have the mistake, you know what I mean? When you're not dealing with the direct experience of seeing and of that direct experience of the inner light of consciousness that you are, you're caught up as a person who wants to be, you know what I mean? A mystical person. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? It can trip you like that. You know, so now there's a mistake, not a mystic. You get what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So the natural mystics that come in here ain't mistakes, because mistakes are the ones who are trying to be as a person. Natural mystics come with this already through their soul's incarnated evolutionary stage. They come in here already with this awareness of themselves being other than what they are told by society, family, and whatnot that they're supposed to be. And this is what their wrestle has been with, not fitting in, okay, to the norms of the personhood, okay, and all the conditioning that comes with that. So this is where it goes, natural mystics, yeah? You know, there's a natural mystic blowing through the air. You know, if you listen carefully, you can hear. That's you, mystic, you tuning in, knowing, yeah, your consciousness is able to tune in to all of what's going on in the airwaves. You don't need to watch TV. You tune in. Because all is within your consciousness. You contain it all within inside of you. Consciousness as consciousness. You see what I mean? Even the three great planes corresponding to the spiritual or celestial, the mental, yeah, and the physical, they are all contained within you. Consciousness as pure, formless awareness. Okay? And that is what you essentially is. And that is the self that is to be centered in when people want to be grounding. You mean centered in to the core. You know, grounding is more of a, you know, holding down, grounding, rooted earth. You see what I mean? That perspective. But you're not limited, or the foundation, if you want to call that, is universal consciousness. Your foundation of being, your source of being, your foundation, yeah, permanent, everlasting foundation is universal consciousness, intelligence. Because that what your consciousness, when we say you are consciousness. So, even the language, as I said, it gives the impression that there's two. There's you and consciousness. No, you are the consciousness, pure awareness. And it is universal and has the nature of universal consciousness in its entirety within it as it. You see, it's very intimate, or even closer than intimacy, because you're already it. You are already it. That goes beyond names, yeah, and transcends time and space. And you're it right now. And it really just takes surrendering to yourself more than wrestling with the person. I heard this brother named, Muji. He's a self-realized being, you know that. And a high self-realized being. And yeah, he had this term, let the truth cut the ego. It's like you're trying to make the person a better person. You're trying to change the person that you believe you are. You see how it goes? You're trying to cut away the person to become a better person, different person. You see, all of that is a lot of effort and a lot of struggle, and you keep going. And when the thing is that by the moments you can surrender into yourself, focusing into the heart center, focusing into the spiritual heart of you, which is really the intuitive heart. We're not talking about the fleshy organ. And I will talk about the intuitive heart next Tuesday, because these are information to trigger and activate the remembrance within oneself to realize, to be more self-realized, true self-recognized. Yeah, this is what it is. So it's just surrendering more into yourself. You let go of this personhood. You just let go of the illusion. It's not about fighting with the beliefs that we're holding on to that's limited and fear-based. It's about letting go of them. They're all illusions. This is the thing. But the person believes they're so real. So it takes long for them to chip away at all of these. This is how they believe. This is what they think. Because if you don't have the desire for the truth of yourself, to know source, who am I, then you're not going to get pulled in the direction. You're going to get pulled more into serving the person. You just have problems all the mother freaking, you know what I'm saying? And it's not saying you don't have your ups and downs and stuff, but you ride the wave as the self, not caught up as, as being, tossed about and all of that. So anyway, this is so it's that time, and I've gone over a half hour. So this is a 3-hour show. So for all you, if you liked and getting what this is, give a thumbs up and so forth, and I'll be with you again. Cosmic Root Show, Cosmic Reality of One's True Self, next Tuesday. And wish you all the best, and become higher self realized. Okay, this is the time and there now. So the show is, we're in the age of soul consciousness. Yeah. And you have a good shadow hour.
reflected as an awareness of divinity.
Wow, wow, wow.